Now, this is what I call gothic horror. Hello, everyone. I'm author R.L. Raintree. This is Reels and Reads, where I give honest reviews and occasional spoilers. This book is something that I actually stumbled upon, and I mean that literally. I was walking through Barnes & Noble, not paying attention to where I was going, and I stumbled on the edge of the table and found myself face to face with Wretch. And this is what the cover looks like for those of you who are curious. Now, Wretch is by Eric LaRocca. Many of you know him already and were quite pleased with his work. Some of you were not, so I was surprised to find out just how polarizing his work was. But when I saw that it was horror, and when I opened the book and read the inner jacket that said that this man is the next Clive Barker, I was sad. My favorite movie of all time is Hellraiser. I was sad. I will say that, like many of you, I was misled by the Clive Barker comparison. I would highly recommend you indie authors not compare yourselves to any other established author, because there are some of us who are diehard fans and we're going to expect something similar. What I expected from this book was a lot of body horror, a lot of suffering, a lot of just sort of controversial type horror, but mostly body horror, BDSM type stuff, very dark, dark stuff that makes you question why you're so into this sort of thing. Again, my favorite movie of all time was Hellraiser. I was also a big fan of Event Horizon. I think you understand what type of person I am, so seeing Clive Barker's name dropped in this book definitely oversold it for me. But that doesn't mean this wasn't a good book. So we have a main character named Simeon Link. He is mourning the loss of his husband. Now, the problem with this is that as much as I wanted to grieve with Simeon, which is where the sweet suffering comes in, he's consumed by this grief, and I get it. But there came a point in reading this book where I just wanted to put it down. I just wanted to say, enough, Simeon. Jesus Christ. Get outside a little bit. But then I realized that was exactly the point. You wanted to get away from Simeon. You wanted all this grieving to stop. He was grieving to the point of selfishness. He's not being there for his child. He is using his ex-wife. He's playing games with her emotions. And he has an ex-wife who he was with before he decided to accept that he was actually gay. But he is completely toying with her emotions because she's still holding out hope that this was just a phase. Girl, no. He's also taking from his job. They're expecting him to do his job, but if he can't do it, take the time, pull yourself together, at least set aside a piece of yourself that can work. And if you can't do this, then you just need to leave. So he's constantly just feeding off of everyone around him, choosing to stay in that grief instead of making even the slightest concerted effort to get out of it. And it's to the point where I almost DNF'd this book. I almost put it down because I was like, I'm not here for grief. Okay, I'm here for needles in flesh. I'm here for flesh melting off of bodies. I'm here for torture. I'm here for Clive Barker type stuff, and I wasn't getting it. Or was I? It wasn't blatant, but it was there. It was all in the mood, which is why I say this is gothic horror. It was so depressing, so sad, that I wanted to put the book down. That's the suffering. And then, of course, we're offered an out. Just like with the lament configuration, the puzzle box, as they say in the Hellraiser series, we're offered an out. And that's the group called the Wretches. And these people believe that if they take photographs, then you can find your loved ones. Now Simeon is latched onto this whole idea that Jonathan, his dead husband, is going to speak to him through photographs. And to be honest, this is some total bullshit if you ask me. There are people who believe, there are people who don't, but I was like, bro, you about to get scammed. But he then comes across something more supernatural, something that is actually going to help him contact his husband on the other side. And you would think that the man would get the closure that he needs. No, not Simeon. As I said before, he himself is a cannibal. This book was not what I expected. I will say that. However, once I sat with it, I really enjoyed it. And I know that sounds weird, but at the moment of reading the book, again, I was like, Jesus Christ, how much grief are you going to give us? Jesus Christ, how long is this going to go on? And there's a line in the book, I may not get it perfect, but it's along the lines of, suffering is a good thing. The day you stop suffering is the day you die. And I remember thinking, well, shit, let me die and close this goddamn book. But after I finished the final scene, the final word on the final page, and I closed that book and I sat with it, angry, annoyed, then it all started to settle. I began to realize I was suffering through this whole book just like the character. This man was such an energy vampire, such a fucking cannibal, that he was cannibalizing the goddamn reader. And I have to say, that makes this book a masterpiece. It's sort of like a cult classic when you watch your old cheesy movie like Tremors, and then later on you're like, you know what, that movie was so fucking shitty, but that movie was so fucking good too. Sharknado, for example, Lake Placid. Over time, you're just like, you know what, that was actually kind of good. That was this book. I didn't realize how good it was until I sat down to write my review. I was dead set on giving this book 2-star review. But then I realized this book did exactly what it said it was going to do. It's not quite Clive Barker, but I could definitely see the comparison. I highly recommend this book to anybody who was into gothic horror. I highly recommend this book to anybody who was into the mood being horrific. If you're the type of person who wants action horror, meaning you want to know right away that someone's flesh was ripped from the body, there's the ghost speaking to you saying what all it's going to do to you, the door starts slamming. If you want to see the action, if you want undeniable horror, paranormal, supernatural things, you're not really going to enjoy this book. It's not that kind of book. If you were a person who enjoyed, say, Hill House, the book, not the different films and TV series, the actual book, you're definitely going to enjoy this as well. Now, it's not set in olden times, although there are excerpts, but again, there's a mood there that you feel it with every page you turn. You become one with the book. You've been sucked into the character and everything that they're experiencing. So when it's over, it's almost like a big weight has been lifted off you. So if you're that type of horror fan, one who feels like they've become one with the story, one who likes the mood, one who likes symbolism, one who likes to look for Easter eggs, one who's into gothic horror, you are definitely going to love this book. But again, if you like blatant horror, the blood and the gore, give me the substance, you're not going to like this book at all. Now, when it comes to the rating for this book, again, I was about to rate it low as fuck, but then as I sat with it, I realized that this book was actually a masterpiece. Now, I wanted to give it 5 stars because it is a masterpiece, but there were a couple of things that stood out to me where I was just like, I can't do that. There were times when Simeon's language was far too wordy, much like my own, far too flowery, and it just dragged me down. And just as I was about to take half a star away for that, I gave the half a star right back because, again, it was torturing me, which is precisely what the book set out to do. But then I thought about the ending, and this is where it hurt me. This ending was like, are you dead ass right now? Like, I understood where the ending was going, and I understood what the ending did. In and of itself, the ending is a good ending. There are no loose ends. There are no questions left unanswered. It's just the way the scene was told, the way the ending was told. And I don't want to get into it because although I do occasional spoilers, I don't want to spoil this one. It would be a waste of your time if I gave you even the slightest spoiler. So even though I didn't like that ending, even though I didn't like how flowery his language is, and even though I wanted to take away half a point for both of those things, I ultimately still give this book 5 stars. And I am absolutely shocked. Because again, when I first finished this book, I was like, fuck this book. I am so done with reading horror books. Horror is dead. And then I sat with it and I realized, oh my God. Yeah, it did exactly what it promised it was going to do, and now I'm interested in reading other Eric LaRocca books. So those of you who have read his other books, his short stories, please let me know which one I should start with next, which one should I read next, which one am I going to enjoy. But this one, yeah, he hit it out of the park. Good job. Once again, I'm author R.L. Raintree. This is Reels and Reads. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and hopefully I'll see you in my next review. Thanks for watching.